On a bright Tuesday morning, a police officer was going about his duty, walking the streets and keeping a watchful eye on the community he swore to protect. As he made his way through the busy streets, he couldn't help but notice that people were pointing at him. Some even had huge grins on their face, which was strange because he usually didn't get this sort of reaction. He couldn't help but wonder what went wrong. Just then, he turned around and what he saw made his heart race. Hello, and welcome to Amazing Animal Stories. Today's story is about this stray puppy who followed the cop. What happened next will make you cry. However, before we begin our story, we would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel, Amazing Animal Stories, and also press the bell icon. Let's get started. The streets of Los Angeles are known for their traditional Hollywood glamour, with swaying palm trees and plenty of sunshine. However, this bustling city is also home to a large population, and it's not uncommon to see people and animals alike wandering the streets. While many of these animals are beloved pets, some are unfortunately strays. But luck is often on the side of these lost pets, as they're often reunited with their owners within a few days. However, not all strays are so lucky. Some end up in animal shelters, left to wait for someone to adopt them. Most animals don't get to choose their owners, but this one is one hell of a lucky dog. This courageous pup, who had been wandering the streets, walked up to a police officer and asked to be adopted. But would his wish be granted? Would he finally find a loving home? It was a buzzing Tuesday morning, and Officer Mercado of the Los Angeles Police Department had to start his day earlier than usual. But it was his birthday, and he couldn't help but be in an ecstatic mood. He woke up with a big smile on his face, and when he got to work, his colleagues surprised him with gifts, making him go nuts with excitement. His morning had already been perfect, with his family waking him up with a birthday song and heartfelt letters. But little did he know, his day was about to get even more eventful. As he prepared to go out on patrol, Mercado thought the surprises were over. But little did he know, his birthday was just getting started. It was finally time for Officer Mercado to go out on patrol with his colleague Taverna. The two got into the patrol car and drove out of the LAPD building into the streets. The morning was quite stress-free, as there were no signs of criminal activities and they didn't get any calls for help, but that would change soon enough. As they drove to Hobart Boulevard Street, they got out of the van and started patrolling the peaceful neighborhood. At first, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Passers-by walked past the police officers, only a few of them bothering to greet them. But that all changed in an instant. People started staring at Mercado. Some even stopped what they were doing to look in his direction. Mercado couldn't understand why everyone was staring at him, and some were even smiling and pointing. What could be so amusing, he wondered. Just then, he turned around and finally understood why everyone was staring at him. Just a few meters away from him was a puppy, a seemingly lost but happy one. An adorable puppy was wagging its tail and following him, eliciting cheers from onlookers. Mercado couldn't help but let out a haughty smile as he crouched down to gently caress the animal. "You are such a sweet boy," he said. He looked around, hoping that someone amongst the onlookers would come forward as the owner of the adorable pup, but no one did. Mercado even asked if anyone knew the puppy's owner, but no one seemed to have any information. However, some people claimed they had seen the pup once or twice around. With that, it dawned on the police officer that the pup was a stray. Mercado couldn't believe such a sweet dog was living off the streets. As he continued with his job and patrolled the streets, the energetic pup kept following him. Mercado couldn't shake off the feeling of responsibility towards the stray pup. He couldn't leave the puppy alone on the streets, and he started to think of ways to help him. As Officer Mercado and his colleague Taverna patrolled the streets, the stray puppy continued to follow them. At intervals, Mercado would crouch beside the pup and caress him, and the furry animal would happily lick his fingers. It was a lovely sight to behold, and Taverna couldn't help but be charmed by the interaction between the two. As the puppy wouldn't leave their side, Taverna couldn't hold herself any longer and knew she had to share this beautiful interaction with the world. She pulled out her phone and took pictures and a video of Mercado and the pup. She uploaded them on the LAPD social media accounts, and within a few minutes, the comments section was buzzing with people wanting to know what would become of the sweet dog. Taverna promised to update them and suggested they give the dog a name. After some thought, the duo decided to name him Hobart after the street where they found him. The police officers started calling the pup by his new name, and he seemed to respond to it. As their patrol shift came to a close, the officers, particularly Mercado, became dejected. They knew it was almost time to say goodbye to Hobart, but as they returned to their patrol car and prepared to zoom off, they both knew they couldn't leave the dog behind. Hobart was running around the car as if he wanted to ride with them. It was clear that this pup had taken a liking to Mercado and wanted to go wherever he went. Feeling responsible for the poor animal, Mercado helped Hobart into the car and he rushed to the front seat. The dog seemed very comfortable in the car, as if he had been in it many times before. When they arrived at the police station, the officers left Hobart with their colleagues and did some research on the puppy. Unfortunately, they learned that Hobart had owners who had abandoned him. Animal homelessness is still a big problem in the US, with approximately 70 million stray animals living on the streets. Sadly, only a small percentage of them end up in shelters, and the rest are left to fend for themselves. Although it was a difficult decision, Mercado knew he had to take Hobart to an animal shelter where he would receive adequate care and love. He put Hobart back in his police car and drove to a nearby shelter. It was a sad goodbye for Mercado, but he knew it was the best decision for Hobart. As Mercado drove away from the Ghetto Rescue Foundation, leaving Hobart behind, he couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. Even though they had only known each other for a few hours, Mercado felt a strong connection to the sweet pup. He couldn't stop worrying about Hobart's well-being, wondering if he would adjust well in the shelter and if his next family would love and treat him right. These thoughts kept Mercado up all night, and he knew he had to see Hobart again. So a few days later, Mercado got into his car and drove back to the shelter. When he arrived, the staff immediately recognized him and took him straight to Hobart's cage. When Hobart saw Mercado, his tail wagged frantically in excitement, as if he too had missed his new friend. Mercado knew then that he couldn't leave Hobart behind again, so he decided to adopt him. He picked up Hobart and said, "It's time to go home," and Hobart jumped with joy. From that moment on, Mercado and Hobart were inseparable. They were the best of friends, and they had found their forever home together. After the adoption, Hobart became a beloved member of Mercado's family. Not only was he loved by his wife and kids, but his colleagues at the LAPD also took a shine to the furry animal. Dogs often join workforces as mascots or emotional support animals, so the team joked about Hobart becoming part of their canine unit. In a post on the LAPD's social media accounts, they wrote, "Welcome to LAPD, Hobart." The police unit also made a post on Twitter, informing their followers that Mercado had adopted the dog, with an update on Hobart's life. A lot of you have been asking what Hobart is up to these days. We're glad to tell you that Officer Mercado has adopted him, and he's now living a good life with Mercado and his family. We're so glad that this puppy found his forever home. What an awesome and inspiring story. Right now, the whole world needs to focus on stories like this one. Stories of hope and luck that have such happy endings. So, that's it for today. Let us know your views in the comments section below. We hope you found this story very interesting. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with others. Also, If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel, Amazing Animal Stories. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new uploads. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.